Space, the final frontier.
With those familiar words, the Star Trek saga began.
Course heading, Captain.
Second star to the right, and straight on till morning.
The language has become part of our culture.
Two to beam up, Scotty.
Make it so.
Resistance is futile.
I'm a doctor, not a mechanic.
Live long and prosper, Father.
The characters have become part of television history.
Get us out of here. Maximum warp.
Give me that power.
I can't give you warp 9 much longer.
The spirit of adventure.
Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Mystery.
I am Locutus.
And discovery.
You really are just like me, aren't you?
Has been passed down from one generation
Did we just see the beginning of a new life form?
to the next.
You are the finest crew in the fleet, and I would trust my life with each one of you.
Yet their mission remains the same, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
We'll continue to follow our directive, to seek out new worlds and explore space.
Star Trek.
It's a cultural phenomenon that, frankly, neither one of us could have predicted, and which has earned the unique status of legend.
Now, you may ask yourself, what vital ingredients make up a legend such as Star Trek? Well, to find out, we're here to take you on a very special journey. Through the miracle of digital communications, we're going to warp speed back and forward through time and voyage across the galaxy to examine all the elements that have made this outer space legend what it is today.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space. But in a very real sense, it will not be one man going to the moon. If we make this judgment affirmatively, it will be an entire nation.
It was quite a monumental speech back in 1961, and influential, I'm sure, to the world of science fiction writing. To understand the mechanics and philosophy behind the legend of Star Trek, let's do a little time traveling to examine the origins of man's unquenchable desire to understand the heavens. Since early man first looked up into the night sky with curiosity, we've dreamt of venturing high into the heavens, beyond the confines of our own planet, towards those little campfires blazing in the vast unknowns of space. While astronomers theorized about the origins of the universe, our imaginations pondered the existence of life on other planets and what type of vehicle could transport us there. The prophetic Jules Verne wrote an amazing tale about 3 men, a dog, and a couple of chickens blasting off from, amazingly enough, the Florida coast.
X minus 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Then a slew of writers and filmmakers painted frightening pictures of alien encounters and outer space conquests that would influence our thinking for generations.
It's the end of everything.
What do you mean?
You got company.
Gee whiz.
Then, in 1957, the launching of the first man-made satellite, the Soviet Sputnik 1, initiated the dawn of the space age.
All right, lift off and the clock has started.
The U.S. rose to the challenge with a continuous series of its own historic voyages, including John Glenn's orbit around the Earth aboard the Friendship 7.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around. Oh, that view is tremendous.
Which brings us to 1965, a year that would record another significant milestone in outer space history, the first U.S. walk in space. But it was also a year in which science fiction blended with science fact. A bold new visionary sprang onto the scene in the world of television, a man who would forever alter the way we think about outer space. His name, Gene Roddenberry. Gene spearheaded a brave new idea, a series that would explore the human condition. Roddenberry produced a pilot episode entitled The Cage, which starred Jeffrey Hunter and a very young Leonard Nimoy. At first, the executives at NBC Studios rejected the show for being too cerebral.
They felt I had offered them a wagon train to the stars, which I had, because I wanted to sell it. And Westerns were very big at the time. And They felt that I'd double-crossed them. I'd written them this thing about where the mind went in certain ways, and they wanted someone with bare knuckles and a fist fight. We were the first show to take a shot at female equality.
He wanted a strong woman. He wanted someone who could take command, and he wanted a woman second in command of the starship. At least he didn't go for the captain right off the bat.
Roddenberry's big chance to go where no TV producer had gone before was brought crashing down to earth when NBC executives saw the finished one-hour pilot titled The Cage.
Well, one of the first things they said they didn't like was I had a woman second in command of the spaceship, and the attitude was nobody's going to believe that. And indeed, to be fair, not even the women in the test audiences believed it. They were writing things like, who does she think she is?
It's just that I can't get used to having a woman on the bridge.
Gene knew it was going to break my heart, but the second thing they wanted was to get rid of the Spock character because they felt that he was too satanic looking and would upset the women out there in television land.
I had to have an alien aboard if I'm going to do a spaceship, so I couldn't win every fight, so I got rid of the woman and put Nimoy up higher and gave him some of the woman's qualities, which was a razor-sharp brain and logic and all of that. And so Mr. Spock sort of came out of a combination of those things.
Who was this brash writer-producer who would deceive the network and challenge their perceptions of quality television? What was his background?
Well, in the beginning, Gene Roddenberry was simply a navigator, and a courageous one at that. In World War II, he flew a total of 89 daredevil missions over the South Pacific and was awarded a Distinguished Flying Cross. As a troubleshooter for Pan American Airways, he led a critical rescue operation which saved many lives and earned him the Civil Aeronautics Commendation. But Gene would hang up his wings to pursue something he felt was much more fascinating. He saw a strange glowing box known as television, and he wanted to write for it. Eventually, he began selling scripts to such hit series as Dragnet and Have Gun, Will Travel.
But Gene was eager to break new ground. When he began developing Star Trek, he was hoping he could show viewers an optimistic view of the future. Little did he know how much that optimism rubbed off on the executives at NBC, because for the first time in the history of network television, they commissioned a second Star Trek pilot.
We made him a second show, which had a lot of science fiction elements too, but at least it ended up with...
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Great affection I have for Asians and what they do and the important part they play in the world, and I just could not have a group of Earth people without including that great, one half or more of the Earth continents.
How close will we come to the nearest Klingon outpost if we continue on our present course?
1 parsec, sir. Close enough to smell them.
Chekhov came on the show because I'd read something, and someone had sent me a copy of a Russian newspaper in which they said after our first year, the ugly Americans are at it again. We were the first people in space, but the Americans don't even have a Russian aboard this crew.
Why, that power leak has unbalanced the ship and she's starting to drift. I can't hold her in place that long.
Scots have always been shipbuilders and ship engineers and so on, and that was a bow to true tradition.
Your pulse is 242. Your blood pressure is practically non-existent. Assuming you call that green stuff in your veins blood.
The readings are perfectly normal for me, Doctor, thank you. And as for my anatomy being different from yours, I am delighted.
Star Trek repeatedly broke new ground with its futuristic portrayal of life in outer space. And the constant effort to make quality television won Roddenberry an Emmy Award and respect among the scientific community. But despite the unheard-of mail campaigns from dedicated fans, the series made its final voyage on June 3rd, 1969, after a total of 79 episodes.
For me, Gene's vision was the idea of we, not I, but we. And to me, that's amazing. That's great, because we doesn't care about color, doesn't care about gender, it's just we. I like that.
Gene was a very complex man and a very, very bright and creative man.
Gene had a very optimistic view of what the future was going to be.
Very gentle, very affectionate, very, very clear thinking. but always had a twinkle in his eye. He was as he always was, friendly and charming and very hospitable.
Gene was essentially a storyteller. He was an incredible storyteller, as a matter of fact. And not only could he pull the story together, but he could leave that little message on the inside that would really affect people afterwards.
The elements that attract Star Trek to so many people is because of the hopefulness inherent in the stories.
He had ideas that were definitely ahead of his time. And I think that's largely because he spent a lot of time thinking and dreaming.
Star Trek has been sort of embedded in people's minds. It's been around for 35 years now. There's nobody out there who hasn't heard of a photon torpedo or a Klingon or Beam Me Up Scotty or Warp Speed. It's part of our culture, and I think the familiarity of it is something that is very comfortable to people. Star Trek has always represented a very positive, hopeful outlook in the future, and a lot of science fiction doesn't, and I think that means a great deal to a lot of people.